great taste and great voice. Odwalla.
Welcome to another episode of UA's Double Overtime. I'm Connor Delaney.
And I'm Michael Wolf.
Today we have a good show in store for you guys today. We're going to start off with a little Knicks basketball. We had a thriller last night in the Garden. Steph Curry came out, dropped 54 points, had 11 three-pointers. What was more impressive? I mean, the Knicks, they kind of been a little downhill as of late, but, I mean, Curry's 54 points, they lost. It would have been a little more impressive if they got the W, but, I mean, just as a midway point, post-All-Star game, the Knicks, hopefully they can make a run and, be the Knicks that we'd hope they can be in the playoffs. What do you make of all this, Mike?
Well, right now, I mean, to me, it seems like the Knicks are on the downfall of what the highlight for the season was. But, I mean, Steph Curry last night just went absolutely off. 11 from 13.
11-13.
That from three-point range, that's ridiculous. I mean, the kid's still getting ID'd when he goes to bars. It's ridiculous. And it's said that they lost.
He looks like that Steph Curry we saw in the NCAA tournament when he was playing for Davidson, going out there scoring 38
just
points and
ridiculous shots.
Just making everything. Like, he couldn't miss, pulling up 4 feet behind the arc, just everything. It was like he couldn't be stopped. But
And, they lost 109 to 105. Some say it's because of Draymond Green's turnover. I think it's because of Raymond Felton's thieving abilities to steal the ball. But let's get more into the Knicks. Are they still contenders?
I think so. I mean, they're 34-20. I mean, they had a little slump there. I mean, Jason Kidd's obviously not hitting any three-pointers. He's been, missed 40 of his last 50 or something like that. So, I mean, but teams this happens. I mean, it's a midway point in the season. They have to play for the playoffs now. I mean, a lot of it, you look at like the Celtics and what Doc Rivers does with his team. He kind of puts them in a mode, just like a coast mode, a cruise control until like the playoffs. You just want to make sure everyone's healthy. You want to get to the playoffs and have your best team available to you. You don't want to get to the playoffs and have, sure, you're the best team in the league, but you also have a bunch of guys beat up and hurt and not ready to compete come playoff time. So I think they'll be fine. I mean, they're going to lose a few games here, but that's just the nature of the business. I mean, you gotta prep for the playoffs right now. That's what they're doing.
I agree. And what I think needs to be done is that Raymond Felton and Jason Kidd definitely need to step up. If they want to have any chance of getting to the championship, they both need to step up big, and so does J.R. Smith. He needs to really calm down with the ball, though, and make the shots that he takes and not just shoot the wild ones. He did have 26 points in the Warriors game last night. He played very well.
Oh, I mean, he's their sixth man off the bench, and he plays. He's a great scorer. He can score from anywhere on the court. But like you said, he just has to have that mentality just to sometimes slow the pace down. He gets a little too out of control, like you said, and that just that can hurt the team as you see what he can be great, but he can also have his moments where he's not so good.
Of course. Now, what do you think about Carmelo? Is he still an MVP candidate?
Yeah, I mean, he's second in the league in scoring. He's having 28 points a game, along with 6-7 rebounds. He's cooled down a little bit. I mean, you can argue guys like Chris Paul for the Clippers, who's really brought that team, surprisingly, the better LA team out in the West. But yeah, I'd say absolutely Carmelo's going to finish strong. I think Carmelo's grown up a lot over the years. I mean, since leaving Denver, I always watched Carmelo at Syracuse and just everything. You saw him at the Syracuse game where they lost to Georgetown. I mean, don't get me started with that. But he's just sitting there with the family, his son, arm around him, and just like he has a right mindset. I think he has the mindset. He knows what his goals are. He wants to get to a championship, and he wants to be that dynamic player that he can be, that he's capable of being. As far as my opinion goes, he's the most it's tough to say versatile because got guys like Kevin Durant and stuff, but he can score. I feel like he's the hardest matchup in the NBA as far as playing him in the post, playing him on the perimeter. I mean, the guy can score from anywhere on the court.
I'll agree with that, and because of that, with him being grown up now, he's actually starting to play defense. Not as much as you would like him to.
The guy got married. He's tied down.
But when it comes to the Heat, with players that could stop LeBron James, I think the Knicks match up the best against it because a lot of guys, if LeBron's one-on-one with you, it's not going to happen. And every time Carmelo matches up with him, he plays his hardest defense ever. And when you have Tyson Chandler to back you up, if he wants to drive on you, that's a great combo to stop LeBron.
And Carmelo's kind of, at the beginning of the season, we saw Carmelo Anthony who was playing defense and wanted to play defense and was playing defense really well. And now I feel like we're seeing a Carmelo he's kind of getting back to his old Carmelo ways of, little complaining a little more than he was in the beginning of the season, stuff like that. But that could just be out of frustration. But you use the word stop LeBron. I mean, more like slow down LeBron. I mean, it's not really stopping LeBron, but like the Knicks do have, with their backcourt and the guys they could throw at him, different different combos there. And to have Tyson Chandler in the paint, obviously, the guy had 17 rebounds in the first quarter last night, had 28 the whole game. NBA record's 32 or something like that. So I mean, he's one of the best defensive big guys, if not the best defensive big guy in the NBA. But
speaking of LeBron now, there's a lot of talk with LeBron. Ever since the All-Star game when Kobe blocked LeBron's shot, there's been so many comparisons. Is LeBron better than Jordan? Is LeBron better than Kobe? What do you make of that?
What do you think? I want to hear your opinion about the LeBron Jordan. Let's put that on the back burner, and Michael Jordan, no comparison. But LeBron Kobe, I want to hear what you have to say about that because this one gets me. Go ahead.
I'll tell you my opinion.
Please.
My opinion is Kobe Bryant is one player, LeBron James is another player. I don't think it's even fair to compare them. I mean, it's fair to compare them, but at this point in time, everyone wants to do at the end of the day, who's going to be the best player in the NBA. And that's literally what all the comparisons and talk has been about, and they just need to end that right now and wait for it to finish and then decide who's going to be the best in the NBA.
Okay.
So. Okay.
LeBron, are we here? We here? All right. Let's end this right now on UA's Double Overtime to all our viewers out there. LeBron is a better basketball player than Kobe Bryant. Sure, you want to talk rings, and Michael Jordan comes out and says ring. Kobe was along for the ride with Shaquille O'Neal for 3 of those rings. Shaq was 3 MVPs. Sure, he has 2 more with Phil Jackson, arguably the best NBA coach of all time. But LeBron, at his age, no one's ever done what he's been able to do.
With Dwayne Wade, yeah, you're right.
I mean, you could put LeBron with Dwayne Wade. With Dwayne Wade. All right, so when he was in Cleveland, a 24-year-old going to the finals against the San Antonio Spurs, leading that team, and then he leaves the Cavaliers, and they all of a sudden have an NBA record, NBA record for the worst record ever when he leaves that team. And then he could go to any team in the NBA, and they'd automatically a contender for the finals.
That's true.
Any team in the NBA, you put him on.
I'm not going to argue it anymore because I completely agree with everything you're saying.
God, but blood's boiling.
That's too hot of a topic.
People compare Kobe to LeBron because LeBron is in a league of his own as far as talent goes.
I agree.
As far as talent goes. Talent alone, LeBron, I don't think he's reached his peak yet.
Like I said, I agree. So I'm going to cut you off, though.
Please.
And we're going to go to MLB. Spring training's back. One of my favorite sports, baseball. And when there's a lot to talk about, but let's start with my favorite team, the New York Yankees.
Our favorite team,
the New York Yankees. To start it off, we took a big loss. It's going to be in the beginning of the season. Curtis Granderson, he's going to be out.
Huge loss, especially to that outfield that's already
exactly.
weak, yeah.
They're going to lose him for at least all of April. And with a guy like that, 43 home runs last year, 106 RBIs, and the year before that he had over 40 home runs and about 120 RBIs. So to lose someone like that this early,
it's huge.
It may get us to a slow start. Robinson Cano said, but they have a lot of players that could handle it. Everyone's going to step up. Cano even said, he'll step up. The rest of the team steps up. They have a lot of key players. But with that, there's a big loss of power for the New York Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, he led the team in home runs and RBIs last season. So there you go.
Also last season they had a franchise best 245 home runs. That's how they were winning their games.
It's that right field wall, I think. It just sucks. It just, those left-handed hitters have a field day out there. But.
Exactly, but with the loss of Curtis Granderson for at least the first month of the season.
You let guys like Nick
Alex
Swisher
Rodriguez is hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Raul Ibanez is gone. Andrew Jones is gone. Nick Swisher's gone.
There was talk of Johnny Damon bringing back, but Cashman really didn't think Johnny Damon was the answer.
I don't think he would be a right fit anymore either.
I think Spencer has a better arm than Johnny Damon. That's what they say.
We'll have to test that out. The little girl throw from Johnny Damon. Oh man, I used to hate watching that. But what it comes down to is Tex needs to step up big for the power. So does Cano. But we have guys with speed now. Brett Gardner's fully healthy. He's back. Ichiro Suzuki's there.
It's all about that lineup. I mean, you said you have essentially 3 leadoff hitters in that lineup. Jeter's the traditionally number 2 guy, but with Girardi there, he's been leadoff, for the past few years. He needs to get back in shape though, and shed a few pounds, but get him on the base pass again. But like you said, Ichiro, you have a second leadoff in Gardner there at the 9 spot.
Yep.
They have tools if Girardi uses lineup accordingly. Do some hit and runs.
He loves to play around with the lineup all the time. He loves to switch it up and see what it's all about. And a lot of times it pisses me off, but a lot of times it does work also. And he's really just looking for the best fit.
Can we say piss on the show?
I think we can.
Right.
Anyway,
but yeah, let's do some good news. I mean, Mariano Rivera, he's back. He's back. He's feeling really good. He's really excited about his comeback. he didn't want to go out his Yankee career.
No.
Like that. Maybe we'll see a little Ray Lewis story for the Yankees.
That's the Mariano we know. You know,
yeah,
he never gives up. You know,
I mean,
I know when I'm at the stadium and I hear Enter Sandman, I get chills every single time just to watch Mariano run out of the dugout.
Every time, 42.
The only sad thing that goes with that is that we did lose Rafael Soriano, who pitched.
Great setup, man.
He played above and beyond what I thought he would. You know, with 42
but
saves.
still, that bullpen. I mean, that bullpen's one of the best, if not the best bullpen in the league. The rotation, though, is still a little shaky. I mean, with CC Sabathia, Kuroda, Andy Pettit, it's really not that bad of a rotation. Can you rely on a guy like Andy Pettit to come out?
I will always rely on Andy Pettit.
Sure, in clutch games, but can you rely on him to come out and give you 250-plus innings throughout the course of a
definitely.
season? You think so?
100%. I know so.
Hiroki Kuroda was their most consistent pitcher.
Which is funny because I believe I've mentioned it in an episode before where he says he doesn't even like baseball. He hates baseball. And he was probably the best pitcher of last season for the New York Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, that wraps up about our first half. We'll definitely be talking more Yankees baseball as the course of the show goes on throughout the year. But stay tuned. We're going to get back into our second half, talk some NFL. Stay tuned.
I wanna be an estimate. I wanna make your body scream.
Episode of UA Double Overtime. Here with you today is Ty Conyers. Let's start with college basketball. How many upsets have there been this year? Just last night, there were plenty of upsets. Where should I even begin? I don't know. Let's see what I got for you guys today. How about we start off?
This is
ATV 360.
ATV 360.
ATV 360.
ATV 360.
Bring you
around the world.
Tune in to ATV 360 on channel 16.
Welcome back to UA's second half of Double Overtime. As I said before we broke our first half there, we're going to start NFL Combine. Some big news. Before we get to the NFL Combine, Alex Smith just got traded to Kansas. Well, saying he might get traded to Kansas City for a first-round pick. Is that too little, too less, too much?
To be completely honest with you, I mean, yes, Colin Kaepernick got to the Super Bowl and almost won for them, but I mean, really, to me, he's proven himself as a good NFL quarterback. He hasn't proven to me yet that he's better than Alex Smith. So, I
completely disagree with you.
No.
Let's look at. All right, we had this conversation in Yates State last night.
I agree.
wish you could have been there.
Also, before you say anything, everyone has those spurts where they play very well, and Colin Kaepernick has that. You think he could honestly play at this caliber throughout for the rest of his career, just playing the same exact way he's played his first games?
I don't know the answer to that question. I can't predict the future. But what I can tell you about Alex Smith is before Jim Harbaugh came to the Niners, let's look at his numbers and what he was done. Jim Harbaugh implemented a system where Alex Smith could thrive and be successful.
That's what a good coach does.
That's what a great coach does. And Jim Harbaugh is in a league of his own as far as coaches go. I mean, there's few to none that are like a Jim Harbaugh in the NFL. He's a phenomenal coach. With that being said, Alex Smith, prior to him, under Mike Singletary, stuff like that, was pretty even across the board as far as touchdowns and interceptions go if you look at his numbers. So, I mean, Harbaugh brought the guy in, Kaepernick. That was his guy. That was his quarterback he drafted that he wanted to develop into his quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers.
So I agree with that. But also, there's a lot of quarterbacks that, start out kind of slow or start out kind of even and then become what we know as great quarterbacks. So look at Eli Manning, for instance. Yes, I'm going to bring up Eli Manning.
Can we go one show without talking about Eli?
But for his career, when he started, I mean, he wasn't terrible, but he was pretty even across the board besides the high interceptions. And then look what happened. He hit his spurt, and he just went off and became the elite quarterback that we know today. So
no, you're right. That makes sense. I mean, we'll see how he does. I mean, obviously, any quarterback is an upgrade for Matt Castle.
Yeah,
so we'll see how he does in Kansas City. I think a first-round pick's fair because he wants to get out of there, and they should do him right.
As much as I want to see Alex Smith over Colin Kaepernick on the 49ers, Alex Smith deserves to start on many teams, never mind teams that don't have a starting quarterback.
The Bills, I'll take him. Bring him over to Buffalo.
Too big of a contract already. But
let's get the Combine.
Speaking of Harbaugh, at the Combine, we had the Harbaugh brothers sitting together. I guess there's no bad blood after that Super Bowl loss. But
I mean, I'm sure it's Big Brother. Big Brother had to teach little brother a lesson. You know what I mean? It's just
boys will be boys. I guess they're always brothers at heart.
They're always a brother's love is a brother's love.
That's very true.
You're not going to get in the way of that over a game. And obviously, I'm sure he was a little upset, but I'm sure he called him up that night and said, I'll see you next year, hopefully. If anything, you're not gonna have Ray Lewis around next year, so maybe you'll let me get there on my own and not have to worry about you across the sideline. Which I think the 49ers and Harbaugh as a coach, I think they have the capability to definitely get back there.
They could definitely get back there. But they have to beat the Giants first, which probably won't happen.
Of course. I mean, the Giants are probably going to get there and probably go 16.
Let's talk about the players in the combine now, though. Let's start it off with the controversial player, Matt Tateo.
Is he controversial? What's going on with Matt Tateo? What happened with him? Isn't it like
the whole catfish situation? You're gonna. I don't.
Manti Te'o, what?
He was expected to run a 4.5 40, got a 4.82, and which to me, that's not good look. But at the same time, he tried to make an excuse for it, saying he was too tired preparing for the other combine events. And what I don't understand is that's the whole point of the combine.
The 40.
To see, well, the 40 is a big aspect.
Yeah.
So.
A lot of
training for that. That doesn't make any sense for me. Yeah, a lot of the picks are based off of the speed of these linebackers and deep backs and all that. So
yeah, of course.
For him to say he was too tired preparing, does he not understand that all the players were preparing for it? That all the players are probably tired from doing the other events and whatnot? To me, how many excuses can this guy come up with before?
He has a box full from his love life or lack of, whatever the case was with that. And
I don't want to call him
his performances. He's just, I don't know.
I don't want to call him a liability for any team that takes him.
But he is, because he always has a story about something.
You don't need that name in the paper.
You can't just say, yeah, that's my time, but I will, I can make up for it my tackling ability or, my awareness or something like that. But, he has to have, well, I was prepping for the other events. Well, that's not fair. I
agree.
And, prep.
Why he's a liability for a team? You play to win the game. Why I think he's a liability for teams is because when all publicity is good publicity, but when it's stuff like this that's just going to get you into the media, that's just going to put a bad rep for you and your team, it's just something that all teams don't need. I mean, look what happened in the New York Jets locker room, and that whole big spiel. Peyton Manning probably would have went to the Jets if their locker room problem wasn't so terrible. I think he would have been a major option.
I think John Elway did a pretty good job on selling Denver to
Yeah, but you know what? That locker room did a pretty good job making sure he doesn't come in there.
Absolutely. I mean, you guys. Well, first off, you have Antonio Cromartie in there. I mean, he's a cancer in himself.
Antonio Holmes, who's he's the best receiver that God's ever created.
But I don't know. As far as Te'o goes, I just think the whole hoax situation. I don't even don't get me started because I don't know whether to feel bad for him or think he's an idiot. I just think if he has the emotional mindset of a 12-year-old, but what?
Yeah. Let's talk about another liability in the combine, Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger.
Tyrann Mathieu. So he took a year off of college football. He should have went and played for Colorado, where they legalized marijuana in that state. It'd been all right.
He had a decent combine aside from the bench press. The 225 bench press. He put up 4. Now, I'm not a D1 athlete myself, but I know for a fact that all the D1 athletes that I do know can put up 4, put up 225 more than 4 times, and they're not going to the NFL or trying to get into the NFL.
And he's going to be, all right, sure, he's guarding players, SEC, the best conference in.
No. Not only that, he says that he could compete with Megatron, Calvin Johnson. If you have no upper body strength to go against one of the strongest, toughest, tallest receivers in the NFL and claim you could compete with him, that is absolutely crazy.
And even forget Calvin Johnson, forget the top tier. Let's just say a guy like Hakeem Nicks. He's a top tier, but he's a big guy. Imagine putting Mathieu across from him in that 5 yards, and he's just gonna bump him, throw him down. Sure, he'll be a great special teams guy, maybe punt returns, kick returns, something like that. I mean, I would take him outside the 3rd round.
I think he's too much of a liability to even keep on a team. I mean, for a player that
he has raw talent.
He's admitted to spending over $1 million on marijuana, risking his whole college career.
It's kind of unreal.
A Heisman candidate.
Yeah.
When you're a Heisman candidate, you're going to the NFL. That's just how it works. So to be a Heisman candidate,
out of just pure
talent. Risk millions of dollars that you could be making on your career. He did not care about ruining his life.
He's a boy. I mean, he's a boy.
So when I'm an NFL team, if I'm a coach, an owner, a scout, when I'm looking at him and I'm thinking about who I want to take on my team, he's not one of them.
Yeah.
He does not care. He clearly does not care about football or how he's going to prepare himself or show himself to the public. So, if he doesn't care, then I don't care for him either.
If he didn't care, I don't care for him either. If you don't care for him, I don't care for him because I care about what you care about.
I know.
That was very passionate. That was very emotional. Like you let Matthew have it there. And that's good because I feel the same way. I didn't have to say anything because you're right.
He's going to be watching this and he's going to get very upset at me, but
maybe,
you know
maybe
I'm trying to do a wake-up call for him, exactly.
Maybe, wake-up call, you heard it here first, UA double overtime, Matthew. You tune in and we'll get your life straightened out.
Let's talk about the
quarterbacks.
The quarterbacks, the high-name quarterbacks.
And Matt Barkley.
Yeah, Geno Smith, he recorded the best 40-yard dash for quarterbacks with 4.59. The best broad jump, and I think the second best vertical jump. But
within as a quarterback, not a wide receiver.
As all quarterbacks, yes. So, to me, what this proves is that he is a great athlete.
He's a great athlete.
In college, the system he ran was basically all out of shotgun. Yeah. So, what I need to know is can he perform otherwise with another formation? I mean, depending on who wants to take him, depending on the system he's going to be in, he could thrive, or he could be in a system where he might not even get a starting job.
No shot, because you haven't seen it. Look at a guy like Tebow who thrived in college, but all his snaps were from the shotgun. He didn't take anything under center. You don't know what his 3-step, 5-step drop looks like as far as that goes. I mean, sure, you can throw him in shotgun and you get some pressure and you have that ability to run outside the pocket. But when you're NFL needs pocket passers.
Yes.
I mean, you look at a guy like RG3. Sure, he's really elusive. He's fast and everything, but he still can be a pocket passer when he needs to be. Colin Kaepernick can sit back in the pocket, take a 3-step drop, hang out and complete a pass. Geno Smith is a guy, great career. I mean, great career at West Virginia, but we've seen guys like this, all the time, come out.
I agree. And let's move to a different quarterback, Matt Barkley.
Yeah.
He did not participate in the combine. He's still recovering from the shoulder separation.
Mm-hmm.
But what doctors say is at 90% now. He will be performing in the USC Pro Day, which is March 27th. Mm-hmm. So he'll be able to show the scouts and whoever else what he's capable of then. I think, who do you think is getting drafted first, Geno Smith or Matt Barkley?
I think Barkley's a better quarterback. If I'm a team, I would rather, risk-reward is higher on Geno Smith because he has, he has more potential possibly, but he also could be, a bust. I think Barkley, I wouldn't say he's a sure thing, but he's as close to a sure thing as a quarterback as you have in this draft. I mean, you see what he can do. He is a pocket passer. He's, accurate to an extent. But teams would rather take a risk on a, if I'm a team, I'd rather draft as close to a sure thing as I know I'm going to get in Barkley, and someone who's going to, be able to drop back, be a pocket passer, be that traditional quarterback that the NFL is used to. Sure, you got more of these hybrid quarterbacks, but a guy like Geno Smith hasn't proven himself in a situation like that. So
I agree. And let's get off of football and go to the NCAA basketball.
Let's do it.
I want to start off with Gonzaga at number 2.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I don't believe they're the number 2 team. Their schedule was not tough at all. They had 3 really tough matchups with Illinois, Oklahoma State, and Butler, in which they lost 2 of 3.
Mm-hmm.
So to put them at number 2, I think they're a very good team. I think they're one of the best since they last had Adam Morrison. But number 2, it doesn't fit with me. So
college basketball this year is really tough because every time we see all these upsets, and we're seeing these number 1 seeds. They get number 1 seed in Indiana. They just got upset last night to Minnesota. So I mean, it's all over the place. There's been so many upsets this year. I mean, I don't know. I think your top 4 teams you got to put Gonzaga in your top 4 for as far as brackets go, as far as seeding, just because. But for your top 4, you got to have Indiana. You got to have Duke in there. And I think your last 4 in Gonzaga, obviously. I'm
gonna have to cut you off right there.
Michigan.
We have our producer in the back flipping out about time constraints. So, who's gonna lead to the NCAA? Who's gonna win March Madness?
Who's gonna win it? That's what you want me to do right now. You're coming off to
who's winning right now?
Answer this question right now. Duke.
I agree. That wraps up the second half. We'll see you for the big finish in a minute.
We're done.
Welcome back to UA's Double Overtime. We're here for our last segment of the Big Finish, the famous Big Finish, and we're going to start off with Mike Manti-Te'o. Where do you see him getting drafted, making the cut under 3rd round or 2nd round? What do you think?
I think mid to late 2nd round. There always are those sleeper teams that love to do crazy picks. Maybe the New York Jets might pick him up in the first.
7th round.
Is Honey Badger too big of a liability?
It's a huge liability. Of course, he's a huge liability. He'll make it to the NFL, but he's a huge liability. Absolutely. New York Yankees, how many home runs? Do you think they're going to hit 245 again, over, under?
They're not doing 245. I'm going to give them around the 220 range.
220? That's fair. 215.
217, you heard it here first. Our executive producer, Spencer, claims he ran a 5.9 40-yard dash in high school.
That's a joke.
Possibly. I don't think so.
No.
Over, under on 7.0 right now.
Over.
Over?
Over.
7.5, 7.6.
7.7. 7.7.
7.7.
On a good day. Lakers, make the playoffs or no?
They're going to need a big push, but I'm hoping to see them in there. Playoffs without the Lakers is ridiculous to me in my time. So
in my time.
So I'm gonna have to go with yes, definitely.
Yes, those playoffs. But that about wraps it up here for UA's Double Overtime. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Connor Delaney.
And I'm Mike Wolf. Catch you later if you give me a good pass.
See you next week.
It is still beautiful every time it happens. Well, Stockton comes right in, gets the defense to react, and Mailman throws it down with a little toss on it, and Rudy Keene says,